Hello, massage nerds. Today I'm going to bring you the adductor muscles. Adductors because they add your legs together, okay? There's a lot of muscles in the leg and also in the hips, so I like to break them down into groups so it's easier to remember for my students. So I think of this: 6 deep hip rotators, 5 adductors, 4 quads, and 3 hamstrings. So that way it's easier for you to remember. Today we're just going to be focusing on the adductors, and there's 5 of them. And you've got the highest one is your pectineus. And this one originates, most of them, actually all of them originate at the pubis symphysis. And they insert in the linea aspera of the femur. So pectineus is a little rectangular muscle, you know, and it's that one right there. And then, oh, I'm sorry, it's the green one. I don't know if you can see it. It's the green one back here. And then that's the pectineus. And then the adductor brevis is the purple one, also originates in the pubis, and it inserts in the linea aspera of the femur. And then the longus, if you have a brevis, then you have a longus. And it originates also in the pubis and inserts here at the linea aspera, medial linea aspera of the femur. Now the magnus, the adductor magnus is the largest, is the widest. It's underneath all these 3 muscles. It's the red one. And it encompasses all of this area here. And it has 2 insertions. One at the adductor tubercle of the, one on the linea aspera and one in the adductor tubercle of the femur. So it's above the knee. The only one that crosses the knee is the gracilis. The gracilis also originates in the pubis, and it comes all the way down and crosses the knee and inserts right here at the pes anserinus. Pes anserinus is the duck foot, which has 3 muscles insert here. The gracilis, which is an adductor, the semimembranosus, which is a hamstring, and also the sartorius, which is the longest muscle in the body. So you've got 3 muscles that insert right here. So when you are working origins and insertions, be very careful. Do not dig. You know, this is a sensitive, very sensitive area, so you don't want to dig with your fingers. You know, I'm going to show you right now what to do. You don't want to fatigue the muscles, and you've got to keep a couple of things in mind. One, the femoral artery is very close here to the groin. You've got the femoral artery, femoral vein. So if you feel a pulse, stay off of it. You do not work near a pulse area because that's an artery. You can move, you know, superior, you know, inferior, you know, lateral or medial, but just stay off any arteries. Common injuries for someone that has adductor problems is usually soccer players, you know, because they're doing lateral hip rotation and kicking the ball like this, so it really affects the adductors. People that ride bikes, you know, that ride on their bike. Athletes, of course. This is a common injury with people that slip. When they're walking and they slip, this would be some of the muscles that you would, you know, hurt. There are 2 main trigger points on the adductor magnets close to the groin and the longus. This is the longus, so there's 2 trigger points up here, and I'll show you. But so those are the main things just to keep in mind. I'm just giving you a little bit of background, and then I'm going to show you the techniques. I am going to do supine and then sideline, because you can access these muscles really good from the sideline. So once you want to go ahead and support with a pillow, support the, you know, this side with a pillow so it's more comfortable for your client. Once they're here, if you want to distinguish between the quads and the hamstrings, this is what you can do. You put their leg out, you get right here, straight, relax your leg, right here on your hip, and you have them push against your leg, like against your hip. Push with your leg, and that way, okay, I can feel her quads and the vastus medialis And then back here, squeeze again, like flex a little bit, flex, flex, flex. I can feel her hamstrings right here flexing because the hamstrings are for flexing. So I can feel where the hamstrings end right there. So now I am gonna bend her knee. So this gives me the idea if you want to get a guideline as to where the quads are and the hamstrings where they begin. So it's in this area. This is a very sensitive area, so one thing that I like to do is put the sheet through here, and then you can have your client hold the sheet here so that they can feel comfortable, you know, that you're not going to be exposing anything, and they have control over it. And so one of the things you want to start doing is broad, flat, you know, strokes. Broad, you know, you can do the L, you know, with this part, you know, and you can brace the other hand over it, you know. And I'm leading with my thumb and just going back, you know, from distal to proximal and just trying to warm up the muscle. You can do 3, 4, 5 strokes of this, just warming up the muscle. You can do some friction, some ringing, back and forth. This will really warm up the muscle. You know, this is all we're doing. It's just warming up these muscles right now so that I can go in. Like I said, you don't want to go in and start digging, okay? Another one that you can do is fluffing, separating the fibers, because remember, fibers, they get stuck together kind of like glue. The fascia, you know, it's like glue. So you want to, you know, separate, you know, grasp and lift and, you know, separate. This will start separating, and do it gently because this is an area that's sensitive. So you want to go ahead and lift and separate. Lift and separate, okay? Another thing that you can do is, like, after you've warmed it up, you can do both hands, you know, go up. Again, just to do some warming up of the muscle. And you know what? You can also do your forearm. You know, you brace with your right hand. You grab at your wrist and just go up. You know, you're not doing this just with your arm. You're doing it with your whole body. You're pushing with your legs. Okay? You're pushing with your legs back and forth. Now that the tissues have been warmed up, you want to address the trigger points. Remember, the trigger points are on the adductor longus and the adductor magnus. So you want to take 2 fingers, and you might want to do it over the sheet, you know. It's like find the tender spots. You know, you don't want to dig in too deep. You just want to make sure keep eye contact with your client so that you can see, like, if they, you know, jump or if they look at you and they open up their eyes wide, you know. So let's say that right there, there's a trigger point, then you hold that trigger point, and all I'm doing this hand for is just for support. You can hold that trigger point anywhere, you know, up to 90 seconds, and just holding the static pressure there and asking your client, obviously, to breathe through the trigger points. And like I said, there are 2 trigger points close to the groin area on the adductor longus and the magnus. So we're going to treat both trigger points, and she's taking her deep breaths. And also there's lymph nodes around this area. They feel like little beans or like little pea size. So make sure that if you know that you stay off the lymph nodes here. I am really, that tickles. I am really right here. I can feel her adductor magnus. And once I've treated the trigger points, I want to grasp the adductor magnus and just kind of really lift it up. The magnus is the deepest of all 4 of them, okay? And you can really lift that adductor magnus. It's the strongest and the deepest of the adductors. And the adductors help, you know, for hip stabilization. And if your glutes are really tight and you don't work out your adductors, you're going to have an imbalance. So the adductors are synergistic muscles for hip flexion. They also work with, support and for posture and for balance. So if you have weak abdominals, they're going to cause, people not to have good balance. And so the adductors are very important. Not a lot of people address the adductors. I had a client that was a mountain bike rider, and he had a pulled groin muscle, and I had to really go into the origin. So one of the things that you can do is you can have your client cup their junk out of the way over the sheet so that you can really go in there and work on the insertion. Or, in a female, you can ask them to put their hand, and then you put your hand over their hand so that you can work over the origins, right on the pubis, because those are important. Like most people that have pulled a groin muscle, the origin is really very painful, but be gentle, don't dig in there. So, okay, so we've done the ringing, we've done the grasping, we've done the, the strokes. So after you've done and warmed up all of this, there's another one that you can do. And what you're going to take their leg and put it on your hip, and this is also a great stretch for the adductors, but you can also work it at the same time. So you can, put a soft fist like a taco and then move up as far as you can. And so you bring it back, and then you glide down the superior to the adductors. And all she's doing is putting her foot on my hip so that I can assist. And if you're tall enough and you can do it with a forearm, you can do that too. But this is a great way to get to the adductors and work them out. So this will be your supine position, and always want to assist the leg, and you can even bend it further out, further in if you can. And remember, when you're going to work the gracilis, this is the only one that crosses the knee joint, okay? So it works on the knee. Remember, a muscle, for it to work, it's got to cross a joint. All muscles have to cross the joint that they're going to be working on. So the gracilis is long, and it inserts right here, and you can just do even some friction. Oh, I'm sorry for the sake of the camera. You can do some friction right here at the insertion of the gracilis, and also the sartorius and the semitendinosus attached right here, okay? So be gentle with this area, and don't forget the adductor tubercle on the femur. That's also the insertion of the adductor magnus. So, and remember, at the end, you want to go back and do some gliding strokes just to kind of help your client relax. This is another one that you can do. All I'm doing is grasping my fingers like this and lifting up. And this is also another really good way to lift and grasp. If somebody has a large, adductor magnus and it's strong, this is another way that you can grasp and lift. And I always like to go back and do some soothing strokes. Okay, so now you're contralateral on the table. I'm on the opposite side of the table, and this is another way that you can get to the adductors too. You can do some of the grasping this way. And like I said, be careful here with the gracilis, but you can grasp and lift, grasp and lift the muscles, separate those fibers from the, vastus medialis here. So you can grasp them. You can also do soft like a taco, and just go up. You can also do some of the ringing, but this just gives you another option. The opposite side of the table gives you a different option. It might give you a better option to get to the trigger points. The trigger points are kind of high up. So it's just another angle that you can get to the muscles. But I really like this one from the opposite side of the table to grasp the muscle. You can really grasp.
Yeah, it feels different.
It feels different than when I was on the other side. So anyway, just make sure that you do some long strokes and some nerve-ending strokes when you're done. All right, that's another view.